Welcome to Change the Narrative. This is Kim.
What up, world? This is Lamb here, episode 31.
What's up, man?
Hey, man, election is in the air, man.
That's right. At home and here.
And here. But guess what, though?
Mm-hmm.
November 3rd, man, we got to get this guy out of office, man. Talking about here, we got to get this guy. I mean, this is crazy. You know what I'm saying? What's going on? But beyond that, election haven't been called in Belize yet, but election
is
coming.
We got to be here this year, right?
We know it's here because we starting to see the commercials. We starting to see land given away, land being filled with sand, people getting their education, money and advertising is already on the airways. Like all this stuff started.
The hustle is on.
The hustle is on, man. It's the same old. And I think it's about time here at Change the Narrative we actually change the narrative on how we've been conducting our election.
Right.
And actually look at these guys' records and let's do something even more fun.
Mm-hmm.
Let's rank who we think is the best prime minister Belize ever had since the inception in 1981 to present.
Mm-hmm.
And on the second segment, let's talk about who we think
will win.
Going to win the election, and that's between the two major parties,
right,
and the third parties like the People's Front and the BPP and so on and so forth. So
right,
let's get this going, man.
So let's do that. So the contestants for the best prime minister in Belize's 39 year history is
George Price.
Yes. Manuel Esquivel.
Yes.
Said Musa. And Dean Barrow.
That's right. Those are the lineup.
Those are the four. And we're going to use like 5 different metrics that we went ahead and looked at and analyzed in making our decision. And those metrics are the economy.
For one.
All right. That's GDP, debt.
Mm-hmm.
Right. We're going to talk about crime.
Of course.
Migration.
Of course.
Literacy.
Of course.
And perceived corruption.
Yeah, when we talk about corruption, we're not talking about corruption on no international standards. No. We're talking about corruption just based on our experiences and our knowledge and what we actually been through and our people's been through.
Some of the nonsense that we've seen happen over the years.
For sure.
Basically.
So let's get down to it, man. So what is the breakdown and how and who were in power? Let's give them that information to start with.
Yeah, sure. So 81, well, George Price got us independence 81.
And prior to that, George Price was the leader.
He was also the leader of the country for years prior to that,
cool.
Right?
Okay.
84 was the election right after that. George Price lost to Manuel Esquivel in
1984. So he was in power from 81 to
84.
So 3 years, that's it?
That's it, right?
Okay.
So 84 election call, he lost.
Okay.
Esquivel came into power 84 to 89.
84 to 89, 5
right.
years.
Every 5 years, just for the record. Right.
Okay.
89, he lost. George Price won again.
Correct. Okay.
Right? So George Price went back in power 89 to 93.
Okay.
And he lost again in 93 to Esquivel again.
So they were flip-flopping.
They were going back and forth.
Okay.
Right? So Esquivel was in power from 93 to 98.
Okay.
And he lost.
Okay.
And Said Musa, who was by then the new leader of the PUP.
Right.
He was voted in as prime minister.
Okay.
He was PM from 98 to 08. So 10 years.
10 years, cool.
Right. And then that's two cycles. And then since 08, we've had
Dean Barrow, which is the current prime minister. He's the longest serving prime minister.
And we know that in this upcoming election, we will have a new prime minister since Dean Barrow is officially resigning.
Yeah, I mean his time is up. So understood. So
that's just a quick history.
Which is dope. So based on let's start. We're gonna rank each guy based on the matrix, the metrics that you put forward. So let's start with who had the best economic growth or GDP growth over the last 39 years.
Okay, over the last 39 years, it's been Esquivel.
Manuel Esquivel.
We do have to do honorable mention and say, though, that prior to Belize gaining independence, we did have great economic growth under leadership of George Price, which got us to the point of
feeling confident enough to want to be independent and so on and so forth.
Correct. So we have to mention that.
Definitely, because, again, that's what I'm saying. Some of these numbers will be kind of misleading because it's kind of hard when a guy already built up something and he lost and another one takes it over. So when it comes to the economic growth and so forth, it kind of can be a little bit tricky.
Right, but when we looked at the numbers, Esquivel had the best
economic numbers within its 10 years. It's
right, in terms of both GDP and growth.
Growth,
okay.
Okay, cool.
And then crime. Who had the worst crime?
I mean,
we're gonna go on
listen, man, I already know who had the worst crime because I think I was there to see a lot of it. You know what I mean? I think for me personally, without after looking at the numbers, I think the crime took off under like from 1997 and just got crazy between 97 and like 05.
That's right. And that was under Said Musa.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost
so
it
started 97 and then it went crazy.
It's always right in regards to crime just took off.
Yes.
And now it's just been crazy ever since.
Correct.
Murder rate we've been so according to the numbers, we're averaging about 37 murders per every 100,000. And for people who don't understand, that's the second highest within our region and one of the highest in the world.
Right.
You know, so it's pretty bad. But these is 400,000 people in that country.
Yeah.
For us to be killing ourselves at that clip, it's just astonishing to me.
That's true. Right. So for crime, the worst we've seen crime was it started under
Esquivel. Well, it started on Esquivel.
And then it built up and got worse.
Got worse. Correct. Yeah.
Right. And then migration, we're going to look at that from the perspective of when that went high.
Yeah, because that's in correlation to crimes as well.
Correct. So that, again, was under Musa.
Musa. So the worst migration period is between the years of 2000 2005.
Correct.
That's when migration.
We saw a real huge.
That's when everybody decided they can't take it no more.
Correct.
And people don't gotta understand, like, migration is very significant because migration is telling you that your talent, the people that Belize invested in regards to education and so forth, has decided that for one, economic wise, they ain't seeing any progress, and protection and crime wise is just too high for their safety.
Correct.
So they're moving to better pastures.
Right.
For their own sake, you know what I mean? So you really can't fault these folks who want to live a better life.
Right.
You understand? I think we as Belizeans or as a country in a whole really got to deal with this issue in migration and trying to find
incentives
and give people reasons to want to stay in Belize because, again, it's not worth losing your life. And if your life ain't worth nothing to being at home, then why stay?
That's right. And you got to look at that big time. Literacy.
That is
education. How educated are people?
And it's crazy. So who has the worst literacy since the the numbers you're looking at?
Well, 91 we were at about 70% literacy.
Yeah. So I looked at that too, man. I looked at all the way back to 1950. Yeah, I looked back all the way to 1950. So back in the 50s, Belize literacy rate was like 63 out of 63%. You know what I mean? So 63% of the population was literate.
Right.
In 1991, it was 70%. 70% of the population is literate. And as of today, in 2020, we're at 82.3.
Right. So
which is a little bit higher. I mean, we are more exposed to the internet and so on and so forth, technology.
Right.
But in comparison to the rest of the world, that is terrible.
Right. So we have to give it to Barrow because
Dean Barrow has the highest literacy.
But that's not saying that it's good. That's just having to give it to one. But man, there are countries who are 100% and have been at 100% literacy
especially
for years,
especially
decades,
countries in the Caribbean, like countries like Cuba, have been at 100% literacy rate since 2008. Right. You know what I mean? So we still have a lot of work to do in that department.
Correct.
We still have a lot of investment we got to put in this department. But in regards to who tenure the literacy is highest, that goes to Dean Barrow.
Correct. You know and the last one we're going to look at is perceived corruption. And that's just from our perspective or our point of view, under whose leadership was corruption at its
rampant, at its worst.
Very worst. Or the biggest impact and things like that we've seen. And we gave that to Said Musa.
Said Musa. I kind of agree with that. I think a lot of nonsense happened under that tenure, man. We saw BTI got sold for a little bit of nothing.
On a promissory note.
We saw a hospital that none of us used was signed off on an insurance guarantee that all of a sudden the government can. I don't even know government could just sign off on stuff like that.
We saw passports.
We saw the super bond nonsense that they're going back and forth with.
Right.
You know, I mean, we saw millions of dollars being extorted, land just been missing, passports being sold. All the same stuff that goes on today was just as bad.
Right.
Back
and
then.
Granted, right now it is pretty bad, but we have to
keep it real.
Say that with the age of technology and social media and internet and all that, everything is just more
enhanced.
That's all it is.
That's all it is, most definitely. So based on the raw numbers and the participants and their tenure, who do you rank as the number one prime minister Belize had since its inception?
Number one, we had to give it to George Price.
Most definitely. I think for me, man, to be honest with you, the reason I just want to talk about him a little bit. I think that just the idea that this man was able to get independence amongst a bunch of different group of people. Again, we have 5, 6, 7 different groups ethnic groups in Belize, and to get all these people to get along under one banner, one flag. To me, that's a huge feat. And not only that, he was able to negotiate where we're getting protection from our old oppressors, which is the British, for protection from our neighbors, the Guatemalans and so forth, and was able to form some big alliances with our neighbors in the Central American corridor, like Panama, people to Panama and so on and so forth. Yeah. And those guys were instrumental in how Belize were able to get their independence. So I agree with you on that. I think George Price, by far, is the best prime minister Belize had.
Okay. You know what I mean? So number 2, based on the numbers, gotta go to Manuel Esquivel.
Yeah, Manuel Esquivel. This is based on economic growth, based on not having that. I mean, let's keep it real. Corruption was
issues.
Corruption was high. I mean, corruption is throughout everyone's tenure, but it wasn't as bad under Manuel Esquivel. We saw literacy goes up. We saw economic growth going up. People were still able to walk the streets in Belize without having to worry. You know, it wasn't, all this nonsense. The debt wasn't off the chain. Yeah. So just based on the raw numbers, Manuel Esquivel is definitely number two in regards to that list.
Right. Number 3 is the current PM, Barrow.
The number 3 is Dean Barrow. Yeah, I mean, how do I say it, man? Let's keep it real. His numbers in regards to the economic wise, is dismal. It's bad, and he had 12 years to try to solve the issues. Mind you now, you got to keep it real. Mind you that he took over in 2008 when we faced one of the biggest economic downturns the world has ever had. And now he's going through one of the worst pandemics we have seen in over 80 years.
The start of his tenure
and to the end of his tenure, he's been facing just a climbing an uphill. So his economic numbers will not be as bad. But we have witnessed a lot of corruption under his tenure, and the corruption still has not been addressed so far.
Right, and my thing with him too is 12 years, and there have been no real innovation or creativity coming out of the government.
Correct.
It's just more the same. I think we were kind of hard on him for that. Because,
I expected a lot more from him, man. I just thought that just based on the vision that he put forward coming into the office, I just really thought that we will live to see some of that come to fruition.
Right.
And a lot of it was just smoke screen. You know what I'm saying? A lot of it didn't really come to fruition, man. And I wish that wasn't the case, but we just got to go by the raw numbers, man, and what the reality really is. And the reality is a lot of the things that they were planning out and said they were going to do didn't get done. The country, economic-wise, has been dismal for the last 10 years. Migration is still very high. The crime rate has been consistently high. You know what I'm saying? And we got to. At third place to me, I think that's fair. That's where he, where he's supposed to be.
Which of course leaves Said Musa, who we have ranked as our worst PM since gaining independence.
Man, I don't even know where to start with this guy, man. I think seriously, man, I think the crime, the whole crime, I'll start with the crime situation. I think the crime situation went haywire under this man's tenure. You know what I'm saying? That's when everything just went straight out of control, where the cops can't even, then we add the corruption on top of that. We add the people just decided that they got enough and the tenant leaving.
The debt.
The national debt. You know what I'm saying?
National debt.
It's crazy because some years you will see that there's some growth that happened between the years of 2000 to 2005. Mm-hmm. There was some growth, but the growth that we had didn't translate into actual tangible things we can touch within the economy. So that tells you right there that money was being pocketed. You know what I'm saying? Straight up. You know what I'm saying? So I think you're right in this instance, man. I think the worst prime minister Belize had since the inception is Sai Musa. The best one we had is George Price. The worst. I think the worst thing George Price did was to make this dude be his predecessor. Straight up, man.
Yeah, because man. So yeah, so.